Shinobi 3 will keep you engaged throughout the entirety of your playthrough. It may not be the longest experience, but it's definitely a satisfying one. You play as Joe Musashi, as he goes on a journey to halt the plans of the crime syndicate known as Neo Zed. You'll find that the plot is a secondary focus, which shouldn't surprise you as most games released during this era do not focus on plot. Before I get into this video, I'd like to mention that this is the first and only Shinobi game I've played, so I have no nostalgia bias, nor do I have anything to relate it to. With all that out of the way, let's get into this retro rewind on Shinobi 3: Return of the Ninja Master. The opening of the game encapsulates the vibe of the experience you're about to have perfectly. I love the music and overworld as you're just gazing off into the world. It truly gives off the sense of a lone samurai who is a capable one-man army. The first stage is definitely a tutorial type, but it lets you learn on your own, so I actually struggled to get comfortable with the controls early on. However, as the title of this video suggests, the gameplay is simple, but that's not a bad thing. You have your automated long-range attack, your automated close-range attack, and your special abilities which you can use once per level. I found myself relying on the defensive lightning, but would occasionally use the enhanced vertical leap. I didn't utilize any abilities that might help me in combat, but the enemies are fairly easy. Compared to modern games, Shinobi 3 does nothing special in the gameplay department, but this right here concludes the simple part of the video. Now let's get into the satisfying part. There are lots of positives I can pull from when talking about Shinobi 3, but let's start with one of my favorite categories, the atmosphere. Each level has a unique feel, and although no stage has a special quality to it in terms of design, it organically progresses and requires you to learn from the previous stages. Each level also has a different setting, allowing the players to always feel refreshed. I'd say my favorite was probably part 2 of the traps. It just felt right, and having the doors lead you to various areas within the level was something I was definitely not expecting. So despite that becoming frustrating at times, I still thought the concept of it was creative. However, I also enjoyed level 1, Zed's Resurrection. I just loved the foresty setting with ninjas randomly dropping from the canopy. It felt like something straight out of a movie, but I believe what made this experience truly immersive was the music. The soundtrack in Shinobi 3 is amazing and captures the tone of the game perfectly. And in addition to the great songs, the fast-paced sequences are very enjoyable and never grew stale. You may find yourself on a horse, on whatever this is, or maybe just falling with a bunch of rocks. But each experience felt different from the last, and they offer a nice change of pace from the traditional hack and slash formula. I really struggled during these parts, especially during the rock one, and I know from the reviews I read is that a gripe with this game is the lack of challenge. I may not be the most experienced with this genre, but Shinobi 3 proved itself challenging to me. But there is nothing in this game more difficult than the final boss. During this fight, I found myself doing something I always promised not to do, and that would be using the shortcuts that the Nintendo Switch offers. I only defeated him because of these shortcuts. However, I enjoyed the atmosphere of this fight. It's super trippy and not what I was expecting at all from a game about a ninja. And to be honest, I don't really have any idea what was supposed to be happening, but I'm glad it did. Not only was the final boss challenging, but most of the other ones were as well, and they each offered a unique style from one another. For a game from 1993, I was very impressed with their creative take on bosses. But something else that I would say surprised me more than anything were some of the animations in the game. I love the motion of when you have to maneuver across a platform. Something about it is just so satisfying. But honestly, that's really all I have to say about the animation. I'm not too technical in that department and can't give you a breakdown on the movements. Overall, Shinobi 3 was a simple yet satisfying experience. I'm not an expert in the hack and slash platformer genre, but Shinobi has opened me up to trying out more games like it. Sometimes I get tired of always having to remember little details in order to progress. So Shinobi 3 was a great escape from that, yet it still managed to bring a challenge to the gameplay. I have a great time playing the games of these retro rewinds and really enjoy the process of creating them as well. So I would love any recommendations on another potential title to cover. Also, please leave a like and subscribe as I continue to develop this channel. So until next time, Peace out.